Your Excellency Bishop Sanchez-Rondo, honorable mayors, ladies and gentlemen. I thank the Holy See for convening this conference. As the mayor of the city of Zurich, it is a great honor for me to be here with you. I would like to inform you on a special idea from the city of Zurich. In autumn 2015, the number of asylum seekers arriving in the city of Zurich increased substantially. And maybe you know it, in Switzerland the system is this way, that refugees are assigned to the cities and cantons by the national state based on a key which takes into account the number of inhabitants. At that time, our priority was to provide adequate reception facilities and accommodation in a very short term, as many of you know it also. Today, integration is the crucial goal because we know more than half of the asylum seekers will stay in Zurich. What you see here on the chart is the asylum seekers at the first time when they depose a request for asylum. And of course, we are fully aware that our responsibility is in this emergency extends beyond the purely local. A year ago, facing an especially dramatic situation, we asked ourselves, how can we, as a rich European city, make a meaningful contribution that also takes into account the bigger picture? How can we stand in solidarity with towns and cities that are most affected by the crisis? The result of our deliberations is a course of action launched in September 2015. The program takes the regular refugee and integration policy of our city a step further and covers local as well as international endeavors. On the local level, amongst other measures, initiated additional language courses, and we support and promote the pronounced civic commitment displayed by the people of Zurich, who help secure accommodation for the refugees and provide leisure time options and language learning opportunities for them. We are convinced that these steps of enabling refugees to learn our language and to get involved into Zurich society is crucial to a successful integration process. The international commitment of the city of Zurich is based on the idea of cross-border from town to town initiative. Therefore, Zurich, as a privileged city, is supporting a so-called town of initial refuge, which means a town close to a conflict zone that is having to deal with a much larger number of refugees than the city of Zurich. Allow me to give you a brief outline of this project. As you all know, the towns and villages of Lebanon, already burdened with the Palestinian refugee camps, are struggling to cope with a situation brought by the flood of refugees from Syria, a situation we in Europe can hardly imagine. We therefore intend to support towns of initial refuge in Lebanon pragmatically and in direct collaboration with the local authorities. The aim of this from town to town aid is to help the local political and administrative authorities and the people to better provide for and integrate their refugees. In selecting a partner town of initial refuge in Lebanon, we are drawing on the expertise of a Swiss NGO which has many years of experience and familiarity with the political situation in Lebanon. In initial project phase, we are now backing 3 projects developed by individual towns and villages that support local communities projects that benefit both the Syrian refugees and the local Lebanese residents. This is a very important point. This twofold approach is crucial because both in preventing the emergence of anti-refugee sentiment and promoting social cohesion in Lebanon. The first phase projects are now underway. From the very beginning, we applied a participative course of action, which means that all involved parties were consulted, including the Syrian refugees. It became apparent that planning tendering processes is a difficult task in this very specific context, and we had to deal with some delays. Now, however, we have selected 3 projects developed by Lebanese communities and are funding them with roughly 30,000 euros each. One of the projects covers the renovation of a school in Homin el Fawqa to enable it to take more Syrian refugee children in. The second project aims to renovate and re-equip a hospital in Qa'ayet El Yasser. The hospital is located in a region where relations between the mostly poor local people and the refugees are under severe strain. We expect our project to benefit both groups, and by that, reduce friction between the locals and the new arrivals. Xaibet has been chosen for the third project, where a new well will be built. Because as a consequence of the substantial population increase and due to the contamination of many of the existing water sources, many communities in Lebanon no longer have an adequate supply of clean drinking water. Again, this can trigger animosity between the local population and the refugees, something we want to help prevent with our activities. In phase 2, which will take place next year, the city of Zurich intends to enter into a project partnership with a Lebanese community. On the experience gained with the 3 community support projects in the first phase, we plan to select a town for a more comprehensive partnership, which goes beyond the scope of singular projects. One option is a partnership based on one of the first phase projects. We could, for example, support a project in the field of vocational training. At this point in time, we plan to run the whole project for a period of 3 years and anticipate costs of approximately 500,000 euros in all. It is, ladies and gentlemen, my firm conviction that such partnership-based town-to-town aid is a valuable supplementary contribution to the good work that is already being done by various national governments, international organizations, and NGOs in the region. Our cities have the in-depth know-how in the field of communal infrastructures and services, the know-how that can benefit the communities in the affected regions. Waste collection is a good example in this context, since a consequence of the population increase is the waste disposal systems in these towns of initial refuge are no longer able to cope with the waste volumes. Our municipal waste and management professionals, for example, have the know-how and have the experience to help. Moreover, thanks to a pragmatic approach based on a more practical considerations, we might well meet the greater acceptance and openness than NGOs or state agencies, and thus be able to interact on a somewhat different level with authorities and administrative departments. Obviously, these projects do not fall into the mega category. And bearing in mind the fragile situation in Lebanon, bringing them to fruition will be no simple matter. In providing aids of this kind, the city of Zurich is venturing into uncharted waters, and we are still testing those waters at this point of time. If you should be interested in how the projects develop, we will be very happy to share our ups and our downs with you. And if any of you worked in similar projects in the past, we would be certainly eager to learn from your experience. As we understand it, assistance made available to towns of initial refuge is supplementary to the aid provided within the scope of Solidarity Cities, the European initiative launched by Athens, to which I also attach great importance and which has also already been mentioned this morning. In conclusion, allow me to say this. The current refugee flows can be attributed to several causes, of which war and persecution are the most prevalent. Persecution is preceded by discrimination and social exclusion. Exclusion of ethnic groups, of those of different faith, belief, or customs. And sadly, this pattern of human behavior is again on the rise. Municipal governments must therefore do all they can to promote a basic mindset of openness and tolerance within their communities, because this is how we can make an eminently important contribution to creating and sustaining a culture of peace and well-being within our society. And I was really impressed by Dirk Hilbert's statement on what is going on in Dresden. I think it is very, very important that we also keep this in our minds. Solidarity-based policies are widely accepted by the people of Zurich. People from over 170 nations live peacefully together in our city. 31% of our population, which means almost 1/3, do not have a Swiss passport, but we live in a peaceful and good way together. And I think this is why we want to and can help other towns locally and internationally. I hope, dear colleagues from all the other cities, I hope that you also enjoy the backing of the people in your communities for your refugee and integration projects. And it has already been said this morning, I think it is a very important point, only open cities do have a future. If we build walls, if we include ourselves, we will not have a future as cities. And I hope that this bottom-up solidarity, which we all feel in our cities, I am sure, will contribute to also what has been asked for severely this morning, find solutions on the European level. Thank you very much.